This is a laser cutter, or as I like to think of it, a money printing machine. Maybe. And with it, I'm going to make a genuinely useful Warhammer product in just 2 weeks. I'm going to be going over the whole process from designing and making to testing it in the real world. Because I've seen loads of videos of people reporting to be making some serious money from products like this. So, is that even possible? Well, let's just see if I can make anything at all first. So obviously the first thing we need is a laser cutter. A laser cutter, just to bring you up to speed, is a laser that cuts things, obviously. And unlike my other favourite hobby, 3D printing, laser cutting can be used to make actually useful things, and that's why I am so excited. I've owned a few lasers at this point, and up till now they've been open, smoky affairs that fill my garage full of toxic fumes. So top of the list is making sure the laser is enclosed and safe for my family. So I reached out to Creality and I gave them my wish list. And they recommended the Creality Falcon 2 Pro. I knew I wanted to cut some thicker materials, so I requested the 40 watt, and they also said that in order to keep the workspace safe, I should use their smoke purification unit as well. And it sounded like a great idea. On top of the 40 watt module, which will allow it to cut thicker materials, it's also loaded with a few other bits and pieces like a camera and a light and a tray, all of which should just improve the quality of life for the people using it. A la me. It looks insane. If you haven't ever used a laser cutter before, they are so cool. You can go from literally a piece of wood to having something really cool in your hand in minutes, and you can have it in your house. What a world! Before we get too carried away though, we are supposed to be making money here. So let's just talk about that quickly. So how much is this going to cost? The 40 watt model I have here is £1,829. And the smoke purifier is another £649. And while that's technically not needed, it does make the whole process much nicer and safer. So let's get a spreadsheet going. Tools, £2,478. Software, I use Lightburn, which is an industry standard, and it costs £96 a year to use that. I'll need some materials. I'm not quite sure how much yet because I don't know what I'm making, so I'm going to allocate another £100 just to get me off the line, and then time. I've no idea how long this is going to take, but hopefully it's going to be really quick and efficient. So we're creeping up on potentially 3k sunk into this project at this point, so I'm going to need a bloody good idea if I'm going to stand any chance at all of making any money. So I just need a good idea. Now a good idea has to solve a problem. Not only that, it's got to solve a problem that enough people have and to capture their imagination. And it's either got to be a high enough value that it can be extremely profitable for putting in a little bit of extra effort, or I've got to be able to churn them out really quickly en masse. Well, it's me, so I'm going to choose the harder option and go for a high value, high effort item. So my problem is this. I like to paint miniatures. Warhammer, busts, all sorts of stuff. To do that, I sort of travel around to painting workshops and to friends' houses and other places. And that means taking all my stuff with me. So I'm going to make a carry case. Now there are lots of different types of carry case on the market, and I don't really like any of them. The soft cases are too soft and squishy and you can't really put them somewhere firmly. The really useful boxes are really useful but look a bit naff. And the best ones I found, which are the Frontier cases, are almost perfect, but when I'm sat at a desk in front of a teacher and he's trying to teach me how to paint miniatures, I feel like I'm sat behind a wall, and that's not really good enough. So my aim is to make a box, like the Frontier case, but a bit shorter and a bit fancier. Pretty soon the machine arrived, and with the arrival of the machine, I could set it up. I just slide it into place, and after about an hour of setting up, building that hood and assembling a few other bits and pieces, I'm ready to go. I can see straight away how much easier this is going to be to use. The rollover lid will keep the smoke in. The fan actually auto starts when I close it, which is neat. And the drawer underneath will make cleaning up and loading materials easier than ever. Add in those few nice touches I mentioned earlier, like the built-in lighting, the cameras, and the honeycomb, and it's looking like this laser absolutely justifies the cost and is definitely the nicest laser I've ever owned. Stage 1, the design. So first I took lots of measurements. I needed something to base it off. I needed paints, brushes, boxes, that sort of thing. Then a quick sketch to rough out some ideas. I finally settled on a design I like. So now I step into prototyping. When I'm making anything like this, shelving, racking, you name it, my first step is always head over to boxes.py. From there I find something similar to what I need. I tap in the dimensions and it generates an FEG file, which I can then import straight into Lightburn. Stage 2, the prototype. Drag it, drop it, shuffle it about a bit, then cut it. And 15 minutes later, I have my first draw made. Oh, this is fire. Well, it's actually not, because the laser has a flame detection sensor inside which prevents that, but you get what I mean. And yes, I did use the word fire just so I could say that pun. You're welcome. So, with a few bits and pieces made, it's simple to mock up the rest. I cut it all out, and then I assemble it. I don't use any glue at this point because I'm still messing around. I also added a little sexy upgrade to the box, a little fold down lip, just to give me a protected area to paint on, because that's the joy of prototypes. You try stuff, you see if it works. So here's the finished prototype. I tried a few different hinges and a few different handles. I haven't found a latch I really like yet, but we'll get there. And so the total cost so far has been about £10 in materials, a couple of hours to cut it all, and then a couple more hours to assemble the prototype. But I'm still learning, so I'm not panicking yet. With the prototype made, I can test how things fit into it, so paints, tools, that sort of thing. But I also want this to carry models, don't forget, and I've got something pretty special in mind for that. I often get asked where I get my models, and then the next thing I say is, well, I 3D print them, and people get really excited. Until I start to explain everything that goes into 3D printing, how much they cost, how messy resin is, all the cleanup, all the extra paraphernalia, and for some folks that's just too much. And so, for those people, I recommend sites like Minimaker. Minimaker is a European 3D printing workshop that produces miniatures for some of the top painters in the world. I'm really pleased to have met the owner in person. He painted with me at one of my painting workshops, and not only is he a really nice and super talented dude, I know firsthand his attention to detail. When he told me about the launch of Minimaker, I snuck onto his website and I bought myself a display currency miniature to put his service to the test a little bit. Shh, don't tell him. He knocked it out the park with the print quality. It's gorgeous. So I had zero qualms in working with him as a video sponsor. For this project, he printed me an entire Blood Bowl team, which is this really cool goblin pirate effort from Big Chow Creatives. It is gorgeous. Minimaker print in 3 standards. They print in budget, which you use for the bases, which is still really good, and also the most affordable. There's also gaming, which are all the models, which are printed in, yes, that's 3D printed Wargamer resin, which is super flexible, tough, but also high detail. It's a resin I've covered a lot on the channel, and I really like it. And obviously, they print in display quality 2, which is the model I showed you earlier. The models arrived beautifully packed and fully cleaned up. When I got them out, there was nothing left to do other than to stick them onto the bases, which is exactly the sort of modelling that I like to do. It's not like one of those 3D printing services you have on Etsy where sometimes they arrive as a big sticky, tacky, uncured mess, which is not only unsafe but pretty unprofessional too, in my opinion. So if you're in the market for minis, do go and check out Minimaker. They're amazing, and if you use the discount code linked in the description below, you can get a little bit of money off too. Thanks. But in order to secure the minis in the box, I wanted to magnetise them. That meant sliding a magnet onto the base, and then sticking them onto a magnetised sheet which I put into one of the drawers. Moment of truth? Well, down. Lucky they're made of tough resin. It turns out what I did here was use magnetised sheets, not ferrous sheets like the ones Warmag use. Lesson learned, stage 3. The final design. So the prototype I'm going to chuck down as a roaring success. It costs less than 10 quid to make. In reality, it only took a couple of hours to cut and assemble, and it works. Good. But essentially, bigger models have more potential to just drop off, and I can't magnetise them in the same way, and I'm certainly not travelling long distances with extremely valuable models that I've spent hundreds of hours painting, so need a better solution there too. So for the final version, using that 6mm ply, the 40-watt laser made incredibly short work of that. If anything, it was better to work with than the MDF, and the smoke extractor really did its job here. In this version I wanted it to be one colour, so I tweaked the design to make the tabs a little bit longer, so that I could saw them and sand them back, and end it with a nice smooth surface. And I designed this to hold the miniatures in place. Essentially lots of little holes I can poke screws and bolts through, which I can physically screw everything down to the base to make sure those models aren't going anywhere. This time around the cost of materials has doubled, but I'm still pretty confident. All those little tweaks and changes that I made have made the whole project spiral out of all control, and now it's just way too much work. It started with those tabs. I made them too long. To get them short, I sawed them off. So I bought myself a little fancy Japanese saw and trimmed them down. But the saw took a little bit of practice and I ended up scoring the outside of the surface, which meant I needed to go back in with a sander and spend even more time grinding out the surface and getting it smooth. I did eventually, but it took a long time. So for the next version, I remade the drawers. The tabs were a bit shorter, and that meant I just needed sand, not saw. That also worked, and it had the added bonus of being able to round off all the corners, which I really like, but it did add a lot more time. The other thing I did was I painted everything, and the painting everything kind of made everything swell up, so the drawers didn't fit properly, and the paint leaked through all the joints, which needed sanding again, which meant I needed to paint the outside. All in all, everything needed a coat of paint, sand back, then sealing with PVA, then another coat of paint, just to get something that's half reasonable. I might even end up putting another coat of paint on over the top to get the finish really smooth. So yeah, it's taking a long time to get something even close to the quality of the Frontier Wargaming case. But now the handles are on, and it's a functional box, and I'm really pleased with it. So it's time to go to stage 4, which is testing. For me, the whole point of this project was to make something that I could sell. And that means I have to use it to see if I like it and also if other people like it too. So last weekend I hosted Marco Frassoni for a painting workshop at my venue in Salisbury. If you didn't know I did that, surprise! I actually do it about 4 times a year, and you can find details of that in my newsletter, and you'll find links to that in the description below. I used the case all weekend. It was great. I was able to carry all the tools I needed, all the models I needed. It did exactly what I said on the tin. But if I'm honest, the quality is just not up to standard yet. It's certainly not as good as the Frontier case on which I was trying to base it. And while all this has been fun, making any money at all out of this is going to be really tricky indeed. Let's go back to that spreadsheet. So the total cost of making this box in its final form is about £25. But it took about 4 hours of assembly and painting and sanding and all the other steps that went into it, which even at minimum wage means that the total cost of the box climbs up to around £70, which isn't great. That means if I sold the boxes for around £140, I'd have to sell over 20 of them just to break even. And that feels like a lot, particularly because the boxes aren't really up to standard yet. So I have more work to do. For now, I'm going to make the files as they are available on my Patreon. You can just download them for free as long as you access the Magenta tier of Patreon. If you want to know how to do that, you can find that down below. And if you're already a member of the Patreon, thank you so much, you're an absolute legend. And I'm going to say that I'm not going to quit, and while I'm clearly not going to become a millionaire from this project, I would like to make it up to the standard I had in my head when I set out. And I've got a few ideas in my head that I can iterate on and improve, and because my laser's sat in my garage, I know that I can make those whenever I like, easily and quickly. So stay tuned for part 2, and I'll see you next time.